I'm in now.
Who's winning that game?
The bad
Buffalo
guy.
just scored.
Who?
Buffalo just scored to take the lead.
Oh my gosh. Well, make sure everybody's getting a chance to get in. Do I see anybody have their hand raised that hadn't been able to get in yet? Nigel, you notice anybody? I think everybody's in.
I think everybody's in so far.
Okay, we've got another minute and we'll start. Okay. Okay, there was a few more that hadn't got in yet, so um, that said, I don't see anybody else waiting in the lobby. Well, welcome everybody. Let's go ahead and take a roll call to make sure we have a quorum, or if we need help anywhere. Is Mickey Johns on? Yeah, I see Mickey coming into the meeting. She's being admitted right now. Can you hear me okay? Okay. Waiting in the lobby. Says Mickey is having trouble getting in. Okay. Nigel, can you help her?
I'm working on it right now.
Thank you, sir. Jesse, you here? Derek?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Steve Foster? Steve, I thought I saw you come
Yes.
on. Okay, thank you.
I'm here. I was on mute.
Scott, I know you're here. I see you. Susan, I see you there. Nigel, I got you
I'm
down.
here.
Charles? Charles?
Charles got his note takers listed, so I'm assuming he's here.
Unless he answers, I'm not going to count him. Dylan, are you in?
I'm here.
Thank you. JC? Richard, I see you.
Yes. Yes.
Rich Zimmerman?
Yep.
Thank you. We have 8 people here that are voting members. That's enough to have a quorum. I do not show Mickey's in yet. Mickey, have you come in yet?
Yeah, I'm here.
Thank you. That's 9 then. And I'm not sure. I did get a note from Jesse. He said his house all fell with sickness today, and he would try to get on, but I wasn't sure. The other one was Clay. Clay, are you on? Amanda, are you on?
Yes, I am.
Thank you.
Clay said he would not be able to make it tonight.
Okay, thank you. Amanda, do you mind doing me a favor and keeping notes then? Let the record show that we have Mickey, Derek, Steve, Scott, Susan, Nigel, Dylan, Richard, and Rich Zimmerman, all voting members in attendance, creating the quorum, and Amanda, including yourself.
I'm here.
Who else? Who did
All
I
right.
miss? Did I miss someone? Okay.
Greg Andrews is here too, Kurt.
All right, Greg.
Turn the voices.
Well, what I'll do right off the bat is I always start this way. And, well, I'm sorry, we won't go to that yet. I'll do it next. That said, being so we have roll call done, proof of notification come from the last meeting that we had. And we all agreed to tonight. And on 1/12, when we had that minute or those board meeting, Clay took minutes of that board meeting. And so I will go over them being he's not here, and Amanda, I'd let you read them, but you don't have a copy of them. So I didn't know that he wouldn't be here. That said, board meeting, executive board meeting, USAW Kansas, 1/12 of 25. The meeting was called to order by Kurt Lang. A roll call was established by roll, virtual presence. Derek was here, Steve was here, Scott was here, Susan was here, Nigel was here, Charles was here, Dylan was here, JC was here, Richard Sawyer was here, Rich Zimmerman, and Amanda and Clay both were here. Not present was Jesse. Not proof of notification from the last board meeting we went over. Kurt went over the following items to start the meeting. Current USAW Kansas status was 12,556 athletes, 2,697 wrestling leaders, and 230 clubs. We also talked about placing the code of conduct updates on the agenda for the next meeting. Clay said during that time he would get it out to the board. I haven't seen that yet, nor is he here to ask. Developing wrestlers, that $4,000 fund that's out there, $1,000 per district. I wanted to make sure that everybody was aware that we need to spend that money for the districts. And there's plenty of people asking for money. So if one district isn't going to use it, let's work together and let's make sure they are able to get that passed around. Agenda change in the sequence of discussion of Bilby's decision from the removal of the board. The rebuttal decision was moved to new business. The board moved into the treasury interviews. The board members interviewed the candidates individually, starting with Irene Vieira, then Mickey Johns, and lastly, Colin Wilson. Charles Hill made a motion to move to executive session for 10 minutes to discuss the candidates. Richard Sawyer seconded that motion. When we got out of out of that executive session, a vote was taken to move to the election, to elect, to have a vote on the 3 candidates. And that each board member was to pick who they would vote for. Derek Patterson voted for Mickey Johns. Steve Foster, Mickey Johns. Scott Reek, Irene. Susan Redmond, Mickey. Nigel, Mickey. Charles, Mickey. Dylan, Mickey. JC, Irene. Richard, Mickey. Rich Zimmerman, Irene. Mickey Johns was appointed as the new USA Kansas treasurer from that vote. Steve and Derek moved into presentation and options for the USAW Kansas State Tournament. During the presentation, Richard Sawyer made a motion to use track wrestling over USA bracketing for the state tournament and the qualifying series. Rich Zimmerman seconded it. The vote was as follows. And sometimes I pause because I see people coming in and I'm just wondering if they're needing help getting into it. They ping me. Anyway, Derek, track. Steve, abstained. Scott, track. Susan, USA bracketing. Charles, abstained. Dylan, USA bracketing. JC, track. Richard Sawyer, track. Rich Zimmerman, track. Mickey Johns, track. The vote to use track wrestling as a system for the state tournament qualifying series was approved. Kurt, at that time, had realized he had skipped over the reading and approval of the minutes from the previous meeting. Clay read those minutes, and the vote to approve was unanimously yes. The state T-shirt design provided by Frank at Blue Chip was shown by Steve Foster. Discussion using the Blue Chip regularly or bidding out the process, as well as other topics of the gear, were brought up to the attention of everybody. Ultimately, the board moved to vote on which option they would like for the art. Option 3 was ultimately decided as the majority. A discussion on state awards was briefly discussed and tabled. Notice of the next meeting was set by Kurt Lang for January 26th, today, and a motion to adjourn was made by Richard Sawyer and seconded by Steve Foster. Anything missed? Anything I need to go back over? Questions?
I move we accept the minutes as read by Kurt Lang. This is Richard Sawyer.
Amanda, you got that?
Yep, sure did.
Thank you.
I'll second that. That's William.
William seconded it. Anybody discussion on it? If not, we'll take a vote. Mickey, you're voting to accept the minutes as read.
Yes.
Derek,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Susan,
Yes.
Nigel,
Yes.
Charles. He's still not here. Dylan,
Yes.
has JC came on? I still have
Yes,
him.
you're referring JC as in Junction City. Yes.
Okay. Is he here? Is that what someone said? Is he on? Okay. Richard
Yeah.
Sawyer,
Yes. Yes.
Rich Zimmerman.
Yeah.
Okay. Unanimous to accept the minutes as read. Thank you. just quick shorts going over different things. I call them chairman shorts. I'm going to share my screen. Bear with me a second. Can everybody see the screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. This is our current status. And Amanda, if you would write these totals down for the minutes.
Yep.
Currently, we have 12,881 athletes. It says below it, it's an 8% in from where we were previously. And there's a 43% of those athletes are brand new. Current wrestling leaders, 2,823, 13% up from last year at this same time. 29% new wrestling leaders, almost a third brand new. Current clubs were up 13% from the previous year, and there's 7 new clubs. Sanctioned events show 103. It's even. It's 0 from the previous year. They're even. Same amount was going on at the same time. Any questions on that? I just wanted to show you where we're at relative to what USA Wrestling has for us and the way that they status the state. Next, the wrestling's full of a lot of emotions out there on the mat and the whole bit, but I cannot reiterate enough that as tensions and things like that occur and the what's going on in the minute of action and stuff like that, just be respectful of each other and make sure we pass that on and have those same expectations out of everybody. Okay. There's things that come up throughout the week, throughout the last month and through the season that sometimes if people would just be respectful of each other, it'd go over a lot smoother. Kyle Baldwin, he used to wrestle for Mays Wrestling Club as a kid. He wrestled for Showers as a high school wrestler. He's actually with Visit Wichita on the sports commission with them. He called me and told me that they definitely be interested in going after the bids for Southern Plains for years 26 through 28. Oklahoma, when they took that from us last month, they were moving it to Tulsa, but if you see what's happened, they've moved it actually to Oklahoma City now. We'll see how that turns out. It's not going to be the 28 mats that they said they could get down in the Cox Business Center. And as last note that Kyle said was that if we have it at the casino, Wichita, Visit Wichita cannot partner with us. Okay. Triple Crown. Do we have things going on with Triple Crown, Susan, Scott? Have you guys touched base with anybody?
I have not, no.
Okay.
Myself either. I just got finished with a really busy high school week, so I haven't been able to really look in it. Bill B sent me an email saying what we basically needed to do to look into it.
Okay.
But I have not thoroughly read the email nor done what he suggested in the email.
Okay. Well, let's take some action on that. And I know you guys will cover it. I appreciate your help on it.
I was taking care of the gear thing first, since that was a higher priority.
Okay. Thank you. Also, as a note, 1099s went out Friday. I worked all week on getting those ready. Someone's got something going in the background. Anyway, 1099s went out. We already had just posted the Form 990. We still have the state of Kansas to do on the annual sales tax and the good standing. We'll be going into that here directly. We also have, last time when we met, I showed you all that Coach Scott Reek was in Win Magazine and had a real nice article done on him. I also wanted to point out that Richard Sawyer during the finals of Newton Invitational was congratulated by the crowd for running that tournament. A lot of times we don't acknowledge the people and the stuff that's going on and the recognition people get. I'm going to do that when I hear it going on. And then, of course, we have new treasurer, and I sent her stuff and trying to get her set up. Now that those minutes are approved, she will be able to go and get herself set up on accounts, and we'll get that posted to where that's available for Mickey to do. Anything else before we moved into the 2024-25 state tournament? To follow up from last time we got together, we went an awful lot of, started at 7:30, got done at 11. A lot of people were, a lot of discussion. We went over quite a bit of detail, but I would like to turn it over to Derek and Steve and go over anything going on with the state tournament updates, current status, and of the committee, progress, risks that we have. I want to also talk about a consensus for that plan, the operations, the schedule, and making sure we have a great state experience for those kids that are wrestling in it, those young wrestlers. Also, we'll know that we've got to get a letter out relative to the schedule, and also sharing the presentation from last time. I know that someone had asked about that when I saw them getting on right now. They asked, hey, like, I thought we were going to share that. So I want to make sure that that's going out there too. With that, I'll turn it over to Steve or Derek. Steve Foster?
Yeah. Give me 1 second. I lost my Teams. Okay, I found it on my computer. I'm on my phone for audio, my computer for video. So, where would you like for me to start? Go over the PowerPoint that we have been working on with the schedule?
Well, we went over this, the PowerPoint last time. Was there any updates to that PowerPoint? Because I don't want to, we spent, what, 2 hours on that last time? And
We did. So we made a few changes. We expanded the committee by a couple of extra people. I had a wonderful meeting today with Kelsey Epp. She drove down from Hoxie. We had a wonderful conversation. We started moving forward on some of the auxiliary kind of topics. I would like to make a motion that we accept our schedule as presented in our last meeting.
Richard seconds Steve's recommendation.
discussion.
Are we going, this is Gavin Grader, are we
Thank-
going to ignore our straw poll at the state body meeting?
Gavin, when you called earlier, you mentioned that you had listened to the minutes. Is there a reference relative to the time?
1 hour, 1
1
hour,
hour into
13
it?
minutes
Thank you, sir.
to 1 hour, 18 minutes.
Thank you. Gavin has asked whether, and during that minute, during that time frame, do you want to summarize, Gavin, what was said?
It was a straw poll of whether we would like to change the format of the state tournament or leave it the same. It was recognized that they did not want to count the for votes and they only counted the against votes. And the against votes to change the format, like votes that they wanted to change it, was only 7.
Thank you. Anything else to add, anybody, to that? And that was in the recorded minutes, correct?
Correct.
That was a live recording, right?
Yes.
Thank
So
you.
why doesn't our board have access to the minutes? How did Gavin Grader get access to the minutes and the board doesn't have access to the minutes?
It's on the webpage. It's on the webpage.
Okay, I went and looked for it. I didn't see it. My next question is, how do you vote on something without, that's like saying, hey, anybody want to wake up any earlier tomorrow morning without somebody presenting a logical, thought out proposal?
If you would like to present a logical, thought out, new format, then put it to a vote with the state body.
Was the format to move the high school kids to Friday night, was it ever presented to the state body or voted on by the state board? The answer is no, it was not. There are certain aspects of the state tournament that have never been voted on by the body or the board. Not every single aspect of the state tournament in past has been voted on by the body or the board. True or untrue?
I would
I'm asking the board, true or untrue?
I have a person that was on the board for 30 years that says that was true. That it was voted on.
Well, I know that when they moved the high school wrestlers to Friday night, it was not voted on by the body. It was not. And I made a motion for us to approve our schedule to the board.
We're in discussion right now.
Gavin, you're also supposed to be recognized by a member of the board before you speak. So next time you need to raise your hand, just state in the order of things.
Yeah, thank you, Dylan. I'll take responsibility for that. I saw Gavin and he told me he would raise his hand. That's why I went ahead and let him talk. Sorry, I did make that known when I did it. Other discussion?
Hey, Steve, this is Derek. Hey, can you give just a brief rundown of what's proposed right now for those that aren't aware? Some of the logistics behind it. Just kind of a dumbed down, quick version. We don't have to go into the 2-hour type deal. Just real quick for me. Thank you.
I'll zip through it as quickly as I can, and which is all I ever wanted to really do. Anyway. Let me see if I could share my window. I will go move as quickly as I can. Can you guys see my screen yet?
Yeah, you're good,
Stephen,
Steve.
we see it.
Okay, so I'm going to start with the objective. What is the objective of what we should be doing at the state tournament? It's to provide a world-class experience for our young men and women of Kansas to compete for state championships. Well, based on feedback we received over the past year, we reviewed that data, and what we came up with is how are we going to achieve this? Increase athletes and parents' fan experience, reduce congestion inside the arena, reduce the amount of time it takes to enter and exit the arena, improve the flow of people, eliminate bottlenecks, improve the experience inside both the exhibition hall and the seating options in exhibition hall, and directionally just reduce chaos. And it really boils down to a math formula. So one of the other major things we did, my interpretation of the state board meeting was, or state body meeting was, hey, there's not enough influence by other districts in whatever we do. So we took the tournament committee and expanded it to all of the people that you see over here. So every district has at least 2 people on the board other than just district directors that are providing great input and great feedback. So we expanded the tournament committee board. We then came up with areas of focus. I'm not going to run through the areas of focus. I want to get to what Derek wants, which is this. This is the overall layout of the building. So some of the things we're going to do, number one, we're going to add 2 additional mats in exhibition hall. We're going to surround all the mats with bleachers, so no parent is sitting on the floor. We're going to open up this gate over here as a fast pass for people who buy their tickets online. We're also going to pre-sell coaches passes so that we reduce the amount of time it takes for coaches to buy their initial pass and get in. We're going to move the vending. We're going to redo the weigh-in process so that we weigh in kids as fast as we possibly can. And then more importantly, let me skip to what Derek's talking about. We're also going to get the head table off the floor to relieve congestion on the floor so we don't have a bunch of, it's just a nightmare down there where the head table used to be. Let me get to this. This is boils down to why we want to do this. Number one, the girls' division continues to grow, and we should expect to see another increase in 2025. Our first year, I want to say we had somewhere in the neighborhood of 500 girls.
Steven,
Yep.
hey, we're all just stuck on your names, dude. We're only seeing the team's page, man. They can't see your presentation you're throwing out right now.
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm not, sir. Sorry.
I mean,
Just drag your presentation over to the shared screen.
Charles, you're here, and JC's here now too, I see.
I
Correct.
only have one screen open.
Yes, yep.
Let's try this again.
Sorry.
Now can you see it?
Yes.
Yes, sir. That's what you're trying to show people. Thank you.
So let me go back to the layout. So this is the new layout of what we're going to achieve. As I mentioned, we're going to take the head table off the floor to relieve all that congestion right here. We're going to open up a fast pass gate for people to purchase online tickets. We're going to add 2 additional mats to exhibition hall. Instead of having 1 set of bleachers, we're going to surround all the mats and bleachers because we don't want any parents sitting on the floors. We're going to change the weigh-in process to speed up the weigh-in process. Fundamentally, we don't want anybody waiting around. We don't want to wait 45 minutes to get a hot dog. So since you didn't see my first slide, I'm going to go back to this. This is our objective. This is what we're trying to achieve, or how we're going to achieve it. It all boils down to how many people are in the building at any given time. We want to reduce the congestion. No parent should wait 45 minutes to get a ticket to get in the arena. No parent should have to wait 20 minutes to get a hot dog. No kid, no wrestler should have to wait 20 minutes to go pee, right? The building physically cannot hold any more people than we're already putting in it on Saturday and Sunday. So the solution to that, or one of the solutions to that, is this slide right here. So the girls division continues to grow, and we should expect another growth. The first year we had girls, I want to say we had somewhere in the neighborhood of 500 girls. The second year we grew to 700. Last year we had 933 girls. If we were to max out the girls divisions, the girls would grow from 933 wrestlers up to 1,136. Of the 1,136, 177 of them would end up on Saturday if you leave the format the same. The building's already too congested. The number one complaint we got in all the feedback the previous board got from people emailing them after the tournament last year, the number one complaint is congestion in the building. The number 2 complaint is switching from the main arena to the other arena from day 1 to day 2 if you're Saturday, Sunday. The number 3 was they wanted to see a split of the female versus the girls wrestling. What we're offering is in all essence, a girls state championship. So if we do what I'm suggesting, instead of last year, we relieved 428 wrestlers from the tournament. There were 428 high school wrestlers, boys and girls, that wrestled on Friday. If we use this proposal, you could really, if you just do what you did last year, 933 wrestlers would be gone after Friday. Up to as much as, if you maxed out every single bracket, 1,136 wrestlers. In addition to that, it gives us opportunity to highlight our young women and set an amazing precedent that the women had their own spotlight. So the plan would be the girls would show up on, they could weigh in either Thursday night or Friday morning. We would start wrestling at 9 a.m. We would be done with girls with the preliminaries up to the top 4 by 2 p.m. We would have a parade of champions. They'd have the spotlight, they'd have the lights turned down, the music, everything we do for everybody on Sunday, they would get. And then we would start wrestling the finals. The finals will probably be over. My estimation is the finals will be over by 4 p.m. At 5 p.m., we start wrestling in the boys. Or I'm sorry, weighing in the boys. If we do this plan, then what the other major change we would do. So the girls are now done by 4 p.m. The boys are weighed in between 5 and 7 with an optional Saturday morning weigh-in like we always do. Then on Saturday morning, we start wrestling the boys tournament like we always have in the past. Every age, every division, every weight class starts Saturday morning. We wrestle. The one other change we want to make is we want to wrestle out through the semifinals and add one round out an additional round out the back. That would create 112 matches per mat wrestling on 20 matches or 20 mats. That would mean that when we come in Sunday morning, you would average 26 matches per mat to get you through the top through 6th place match. And it would create an average of 20 matches per mat in the finals. If we do this plan, we will be done wrestling probably by 2 p.m., maybe 3 p.m. on Sunday. While we're wrestling in the main arena for the finals, a team of people will be totally tearing down Exhibition Hall, which would only leave us to tear down the main arena. We should be cleaned up and ready to go out the door. Everything done by 5 p.m. if we execute this plan. So that is our proposal, not my proposal. It's our team's proposal. You guys have any questions? I know I went super fast. I was trying to just get it done. I didn't want to spend 2 hours again.
Kim Huck has her hand up.
Sure, go ahead, Kim.
Yeah, I know that you're really pushing this online ticket purchasing, but part of the reason a lot of people didn't do it before is because purchasing a ticket online was going to cost them as much as with the service fees as the single ticket. So are they going to decrease those service fees to entice them to purchase that ticket online?
I believe so. We have a meeting. We're going down to do a walkthrough of the building tomorrow. I believe when we met with them last time, they said the service fee was only going to be $2. And for me as a
I'm sorry. What? How much
Sorry.
did you say? I'm sorry.
I believe Derek and Kurt helped me, but I believe they said $2. And me as
that
a
would
parent,
be great because it was going to be like as much as the ticket. So like if the ticket was whatever it was, $8 or $10, I mean, it was that much for not having an assigned seat. That was ridiculous.
so an assigned seat is a totally different conversation.
Right. I know that
don't
because you
believe
can't
they're doing
guarantee where your
assigned
kid's gonna where your kid's gonna wrestle. But I mean,
I
even
believe it was
without
a
that,
$2 fee. We will ask them tomorrow when we go down there again. But I believe he's mentioned a $2 to $3 service fee. But with that,
yeah, I mean,
service
because
fee,
that's
you
the
can
only
dip
way
in
you're
and
gonna
out of
get
there.
people to do that.
Yeah.
Right.
Is if that is a very low fee. That's the only way you're gonna get people to do that.
We agree with you.
And then my second question is, I get and I totally agree with this whole giving the girls their own, their own limelight, their own whole day thing. But going back to a whole day, long day tournament on Saturday is, the reason that we went to a split session is because the parents wanted that. They liked that. That was part of a survey that was done. And I just don't get the how that's going to ease the capacity on the venue when you're bringing in the biggest group and you're gonna bring everybody in at 8 o'clock in the morning or 7:30 in the morning and literally max out that capacity for the whole day.
So I can answer your question. So number one, there was a time, the number of brackets in the boys division has not changed for many, many years. When my kids wrestled 35 years ago, you still had 8 and under 43. So the number of brackets in the tournament have not changed in at least 30 years. Well, on the boys side, right? And there was a time when all you used was the main arena. The thing that's different between then and now is we've added 8 additional mats in Exhibition Hall. The other thing is by adding an extra round out the back door on Saturday across 20 mats instead of 12 or 14. I think back in the day, we halved basically, if you look at my mouse, mats 5, 7, 6, and 8 were half mats. So I believe we had 14 wrestling surfaces in the main exhibition hall. We had everybody crammed in one hall. So the thing that's different is we've added the entire exhibition hall. We've added 8 additional mats. I have 100% confidence that we'll be okay. The other thing you got to remember is you're going to be doing this with 500 fewer kids than you do today. The other challenge is this. If you wrestle the same format last year by doing a split session tournament, from a software perspective, right? Your kid might wrestle on mat 3 because 8 and under and 10 and under wrestle in the morning session. Your kid might wrestle on mat 3 on Saturday morning. He might be on mat 20 on Sunday. And there's really no way to get around it. And we got a lot of feedback that said, hey, if I start on mat 3, I want to finish on mat 3 until I get to the finals. If I start on mat 18, I want to finish on mat 18 unless I make the finals. So all of that, people are flowing back and forth. That's also what we're trying to do. But keep in mind, the boys tournament used to only be in this one building. Everything happened in one building. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I understand that. And I get that there's 8 more mats in there, but I mean, it's still going to be a lot of people in that facility with the biggest group of individuals coming, on that day. But you're the numbers guy and you did the numbers.
It's
My
still
other thing is
500 fewer than we had last year.
my other thing is the head table being in between those 2 venues is probably still better being in between those 2 venues than being at the total opposite end for the coaches to be able to get to.
So let's
just
talk
my
about
opinion.
that.
It's just my opinion.
I'm with you. So let me address that. So we're not going to have 2 head tables. We're not going to have 1 head table. So we're going to have a head table to support the main arena. We're taking the head table off the floor and we're going to put the head table over here. It's going to be in an elevated space and they're going to build us a ramp, or not a ramp, but a set of stairs and a platform to get to the head table. Last year, we took all the technology people and we put them in suite 126, which is right here. So all the track wrestling people and things like that were in this suite. So we're going to pull the head table off the floor. We're going to put it up here with the announcers, and then we're going to create a secondary head table specifically to support Exhibition Hall. So now if a coach has a problem and they're in Exhibition Hall, they simply come to this head table. And we will have track wrestling support. We'll, if somebody saves a match wrong, all that kind of stuff, we will have a dedicated person just to support this side of the arena. And over here, we're going to have dedicated people to support this part of the arena. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm following you. I'm just trying to think ahead that this is a lot changed in a short amount of time. That maybe we should have took baby steps is just what I'm trying to say.
Understood.
And again, totally
would
my
argue,
opinion that I'm putting out there.
I'm with you. I would argue that almost nothing has changed since my kids wrestled at state in 1996.
Thank you,
Other
Kim.
than adding,
William, I see your hand up, been up for a while.
Yeah, I was just wanting to point out there was some chatter in the chat. Excuse my voice, it's been a rough week. There are some comments in the chat asking about whether athletes would have to pay to watch their siblings wrestle on subsequent days after the girls' tournament. And of course, the answer to that was
The
no.
the answer is no.
So for
They have
those
a
that
pass, they have a pass.
right, for those that aren't able to see the chat or weren't reading the chat, just want to make that clear. And then, yeah, that was pretty much all I had. And then Gavin has his hand raised. I don't know if he has the ability to actually click the raise hand button. So just wanted to make sure if he that you saw that.
Gavin, I recognize you to chime in there.
All right. Have you guys even talked to the Expo or the Stormontville Event Center about using it today?
Absolutely. We already, Derek Patterson, myself, and Kurt spent 2 hours walking the whole entire event center. Approximately, what was it, a month ago, 5 weeks ago? We had a very long conversation. We walked the whole thing. The event center is ecstatic about our changes. If you want, I'll forward you emails or whatever you would like. The event center actually loves the ideas that we came up with. They haven't given us one negative comment. Not one.
Actually, we went there right after New Year. So it's just been about 3 weeks ago. And we're going back tomorrow too.
And you're welcome to join us if you want.
Yes.
Anybody's welcome to join us. We plan on being at the event center tomorrow from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. We've invited our whole entire expanded committee team. Anybody that wants to come, you're welcome to come.
Second question. Have you prepared hotels and everything else in the town for all the calls they're about to get for getting hotels on the extra day?
Visit Topeka has already started those conversations with the hotels. Visit Topeka. I wasn't aware of this. Visit Topeka does a tremendous amount of work to help this organization pull off this. And they have assured us that Mike Bell, who's their person, he has assured us that they've already started those conversations with the hotels.
Gavin, anything else?
Have we given thought to the extra day? Because you cannot guarantee how many kids are on spring break. You're going to ask apparently 1,100 kids to take out of school, possibly, depending on spring breaks, instead of 400, and parents taking off of work. Coaches that dedicate their whole all their time. Most coaches don't get paid. Most coaches all their time.
I'm gonna kind of reframe your question. I'm gonna ask Derek Patterson a question. Derek, when you moved your girls at Battle of the Belt from a Saturday to a Friday, did it impact your attendance?
No, it has not. Those numbers have gone up every year.
So that tells me that parents, for the love of our sport, are willing to take a day off of work. They're willing to take a kid out of school. If they will go wrestle Tulsa Nationals on a Friday, if they will go wrestle the U.S. Junior Open on a Friday, if they will go wrestle Battle of the Belt on the Friday, why in the world would they not wrestle the USA Kansas State Championship on Friday?
Okay, Stephen, I talked to you earlier, and I asked for the percentage.
I haven't got to the file yet. I will get to the file. Don't have it open.
You said it's going to be less congested. My question was, how many of those girls are siblings of boys that are wrestling?
I will have to go get that information.
My guess is at least 50% of those girls are easily still going to be in that building.
That is That is an unknowable number. That is an assumption. We don't have data on that. There's no way to know that.
Oh, he says he's got it.
No, I said, here's what I said. I said I pulled some data from last year and I started working on it. The reason why it's hold on. The reason why it's unknowable data is because I don't know who step siblings are. I don't know when two siblings have different last names. It's easy to go pull and say, does this kid have the same last name as this kid, and does this kid have the same team? That's a number that can be easily gotten. That number is not a big number. The reason why it's unknowable is I don't know who's a step sibling. I don't know who's a cousin. I don't know who is a sibling but has a different last name.
This is Susan Redmond. I do have something to say with regards to attendance. Every year on the Acacia side, the high school girls got shafted because it was we're going to alternate. Boys do it on the weekend one time and then the girls do it on the weekend. That never happened. And therefore, a lot of parents were not, especially with the economy the way it is, parents aren't able to just take off another day to watch their daughters wrestle. And so now if some parent that works the weekend or maybe works a Saturday now has to take off 2 extra days just so they can see both their kids, male and female. So I'm not 100% on board with the whole girls wrestle on Thursday, and that's a great idea.
No gold. No, put it back. Quit messing with all my stuff that I get. I gotta go shower. But I don't know where my phone went. Gotta make.
Other discussion?
Can I speak again, please?
Absolutely. Go ahead, Gavin.
All I'm gonna say is this should be a state body decision. It should be a state body decision. If you want to put it to that, that's what I would suggest.
Why wasn't putting the all high school on Friday as state body condition? Why are we going to change the rules in the middle of the game? Putting all high school on a Friday night was not a state body decision. Doing a split tournament on Saturday was not a state body position. Why does this one need to be a state body position?
Mr. Dylan Keller, I just wanted to recognize a comment that was said in the chat. Somebody checked in the chat and said that they checked with their moms whose daughters will likely wrestle at state, and they really like this idea.
So I can tell you personally, I have had over 100 conversations one-on-one with people, coaches and club directors across the state. I have only had a handful of people not like this plan.
Stephen, hey, this is Charles Hill, guys. Here, I can tell you as I obviously is one of the big pushers for girls to be individualized off of the boys for wrestling for a number of years when I during high school, and also as a dad of this. I like having the girls as a separate tournament, man. I mean, I really do. It showcases them and everything they do. Yeah, I get it. It's a day early. It is. But as wrestling parents, we have all made sacrifices for our kids to go a day early, a day late. I mean, we travel, we do a lot of things, right? This is an insane sport, and it asks a ridiculous amount from the parents that our kids don't even ever know, right? Wow. But I think this is a great way to showcase all our young ladies and showcase all the boys and get everybody the recognition they deserve and kind of clear up a lot of the congestion that happens within the tournament. When Steven presented this thing, I was like, man, I don't know, an extra day. And then I was like, holy cow, it gets really, really, really tight in there at times, right? And then you've got to kind of move things aside. So I think this is a great idea. This is just my personal opinion.
Thank you,
Okay, so
Charles.
then, this is Susan Redmond again. So if the main amount of numbers that we have are of the male wrestlers, why aren't we doing the males on Thursday?
On Thursday, well, nobody's wrestling on Thursday.
Okay, so
This
when you
plan
got the,
doesn't
well,
have-
the,
This plan does not have anybody wrestle on Thursday.
okay, so on Friday, my apologies.
So once again, it
The-
boils back down to numbers, and it boils down, the reason why there was a time when Ottawa, the Club of Ottawa, owned the 6 and under state wrestling tournament.
Ottawa Mat Masters.
Yep, they used to own the 6 and under state tournament. And one unfortunate year, the tournament ran later, and unfortunately, a family got in a car accident and perished. I don't know how many people perished. And so there has always been a constant pressure on getting Sunday over as early as possible. Our plan has us out of there by 2 p.m. Oh, let me rephrase that. Our plan has us almost done with all wrestling by 2 p.m. and exhibition hall cleaned up by 2 p.m. It gets us out of there by 5 p.m. If we wrestle the girls on Sunday, you're going to shift that time scale to the right by 2 or 3 hours. And now we're getting out of there. And I'm not saying that next year we can't reevaluate it. I'm saying let's split them this year and see how the schedule unfolds. And let's do this for 1 year to see how well it works. And we can always adjust. But here's the thing, if we don't give it a try, we're never going to know. And the other thing is this. If the girls max out, there was a proposal. If the old board was in place, they did have one bylaw change in place that I liked. And the bylaw change that they had and that I liked was adding more girls' weight classes. If we had more girls' weight classes, now the girls' numbers are going to grow even more. We are to that point where you have to add a full day of wrestling, or you're going to add it anyways. I had somebody the other night on our phone call. We have a committee meeting on Wednesdays. We had somebody who is new to the concept. His proposal is let's make all 14 and under and high school wrestle on Friday. Well, if you do that,
Okay.
you're going to wrestle the full day Friday. You're going to wrestle
Can
the
I-
full day on Friday.
Okay, sorry to interrupt again. And so 5, 6A state would be on this day as well, or on this weekend?
No, this is our normal weekend. High school state is well over.
2 weeks
No,
over.
right, I understand that, but at the state tournament, 5 and 6A, the one that used to be in Ottawa, that is that weekend as well?
No, I'm talking about the 6 and under state tournament, not 5 and 6A state.
Okay,
6 and
I'm
under
sorry,
state.
the 6U tournament that used to be in Ottawa, will the 6U now, or will be considered part of this tournament?
No, not at this point. Our state does not recognize 6 and under at this point. A 6 and under kid can qualify for state at 8 and under, but we do not actually have a sanctioned 6 and under state wrestling tournament, which is sad, but we do not have that yet.
Okay, so I guess I'm not following why you even brought it up then, why you brought up the Ottawa.
I brought it up because of the car
Tournament.
accident. I brought it up because of the car accident and all the pressure to get out of the building early on Sunday so people from Western Kansas can get home. They don't want to be cleaning up till 7 p.m. and then driving to Colby or driving wherever they're driving. They want us to get done as early as we can on Sunday. And our plan has us done wrestling somewhere between the 2 and 3 o'clock range.
But
This is Dylan Keller. I vote to call the question.
I second Dylan.
Good.
This is Richard Salyer. I second Dylan's proposal.
Amanda, we had a call of the question by Dylan, seconded by Richard Sawyer.
Yep, got it down.
I'll take a vote now. Mickey, you want to call the question? Yes, if it's yes, we will continue discussion. If not, we will go to a vote. Mickey Johns?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Derek,
I vote yes with the new proposed schedule for the state tournament.
Steve, we're calling the
I
question.
vote yes. I vote
Scott.
yes for the new format.
We're not
Yes.
there yet. Thank you.
Scott says yes.
Susan,
So are we voting yes just to ask the question, or are we voting yes to move on? You have two
We
different
are-
things.
no,
You
we're
said no.
voting. We are only voting to call the question. In other words, there'll be no other discussion. We'll go to a vote if the answer is yes.
Yes.
Thank you. William,
I vote yes on the question.
thank you. Charles,
Yes.
Dylan,
Yes.
JC,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Rich Zimmerman.
Yep.
Thank you. Did I miss anybody? I don't think I did. Jesse hasn't come back on, or he isn't on. is he?
Jesse's on now.
Oh, hi.
I
Okay,
just came
Jesse.
on and I'm sorry. I vote yes to call the question.
I apologize. I didn't know you were on. That was unanimous. Then to call the question, we'll go into a vote. Or to a vote. Will, Amanda, will you reread the motion that was made?
The original motion that was made was to approve the state championship as presented by Steve.
And that was seconded by who?
Sorry, I have to switch over pages because I'm doing this on paper.
That's okay.
It
I
was
appreciate
seconded
your
by
help.
Rich Zimmerman.
Okay. Thank you. We'll vote on it to accept the current status and the way that this plan has been put together, a consensus for the plan, the operations, schedule, and trying to make this a great state experience for the wrestlers. Mickey, your vote, yay or nay?
Yes.
Jesse,
No.
Derek,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Susan,
Yes, but can I put a term limit on it? I feel like we should only do this for 1 year and then have it come back onto the table just in case it fails. I don't want us
We
to get
can't-
stuck with
we-
something
we-
for 10 years.
we're in the middle of a vote right now and we can't change that right now. So
I
you
know
said yes?
I'm
Nigel?
asking. Okay, well, I guess I'm done.
Sorry. William,
Yes.
Charles,
Yes.
Dylan,
Yes.
JC,
Yes.
Richard,
I would like to say that if we are not attempting to improve, we are stagnating in our sport. So I vote unequivocally yes.
Rich Zimmerman,
No.
okay, thank you. Amanda, would you read back to us the totals?
Yep. Do you want me to go one by one?
No, just total
Okay.
overall.
So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 yeses and 2 nos.
Okay. Did we miss anybody on the vote? I don't think so.
No, you did not.
Okay, because Amanda and Clay don't vote, nor do I, unless there's a tie. That said, we have a consensus to go forward with the plan, operations schedule for the state experience per what's been done by Steve in the presentation Derek and him have put together to this board. We need to make sure that a letter and schedule gets out ASAP relative to that. And also, it would be nice, there's different parts within that presentation that are really good and be helpful to people. And last time we talked about making sure that got out too. Anything else on that? Okay, thank you.
Kurt, if I may, I would like to recognize the tremendous amount of time that both you, Stephen, and Derek have put into this. And as I said before, if we're not trying to move forward, then we're stagnant. Thank you.
Okay. And Steve did make an offer earlier that we are meeting tomorrow at the event center, and we're actually going to inventory the stuff that's in the rental garage that Mark Stanley has to make sure we know what's available for that tournament. So anybody's welcome to come. And again, you said 3 o'clock. Is that what you said, Steve?
Yes, we have
Okay.
a meeting notice from Stormont Bell for 3 p.m. on Monday.
Okay.
Expectation is it should take about an hour.
Thank you.
Kurt,
Go ahead.
there was a comment in the chat asking, or they want us to put out the schedule as soon as possible so that their coaches and parents will have time to make the adjustments that they need to make. One other person asked for the cost of coaches' bands to be on there as well. So if you'd like, once Stephen has it all together, I can put it up on our website and make it pretty prominent so that everybody can see it.
Yeah,
Okay.
Kurt and I spoke about this at length earlier today, probably about, I don't know, 2 p.m. or 3 p.m. today. We talked about it at length about sending out a mass email with the overall general schedule. We could add the coaches band costs. You could add it to the website. That's a wonderful thing.
Thank you. Anything else? Thank you, Nigel, for those comments that you saw out there on this chat. Am I missing anybody at all? Okay. With that, we will go into new business. The new business that we changed the order of last meeting had to do with a challenge regarding the board's actions for James Bilby, and it was by Rich Zimmerman. I will read the board actions pertaining to the rebuttal. Clay, he would read it, or Amanda would read it if you had it, but I have it here in front of me. And it says, Charles Hill made a motion to remove James Bilby's 4-year ban, which was seconded by Steve Foster. Charles explained the reason for this motion was because the original meeting where James Bilby was removed from the board was an illegal meeting per our bylaws regarding the 7-day notice for a video conferencing meeting. Also mentioned was that it was unreasonable punishment as well as confusion on the outcome of the vote that took place during the state body meeting on this topic. Discussion ensued until a vote was taken that resulted in the removal of the 4-year ban. There was abstained votes, there was yes, and there was no. Abstaining was Derek, Scott, Susan, William, JC. Yes was Steve, Charles, Dylan, Richard, and Jesse. No was just Rich. That was the content of the board's actions pertaining to this. With that, I will turn it over to Rich Zimmerman.
Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna try to make this as easy as possible. Do we all agree that we follow Robert's Rules of Order? Any disagreement with that?
If I agree to that, then I would have to say that we have to throw out that this whole finding.
No.
Simply because the other meeting was an illegal meeting.
It was a question. It wasn't a yes or no. Do we agree that we follow Robert's Rules of Order per our bylaws?
Well, we follow our bylaws, and where it's not defined in our bylaws, we follow Robert's rules.
Yeah,
that is accurate.
And it's
key point is where it's not defined. That is the key point.
It's not. So here's the thing. Robert's Rules of Order, the only person that can make a motion to reconsider a previous vote is somebody who voted in favor of it. The only person on this board currently that did that is myself. So to make a motion to reconsider removing his suspension, you would have to have myself or one of the other 6 that voted to make that motion. That hasn't happened. So removing his suspension is breaking Robert's Rules of Order and therefore breaking our bylaws. Now, as far as there's no undue punishment, there's bylaws in there that say that we can suspend somebody for life. So a 4-year ban is.
Can you tell us where that's at? What section?
Oh, let me pull it up.
For life.
Okay. Rich Zimmerman. Hey, this is Charles Hill. Hey, real quick. I agree with that aspect of what you're saying within Robert's rules. I do. And it does say that. However, if within following Robert's rules, I did state initially that the initial punishment that was handed out or ban or whatever we're going to call it, I don't really care, was not followed via Robert's rules. And then at the state body meeting, which obviously there was a large contingent of people and there was a lot of confusion and there was a lot of stuff going on, and we all know.
So hold on. But before you go there,
within
that vote, it was very well explained before that vote took place.
I understand.
So there was no confusion on what was what.
It was
it
was interpreted wrong.
There was confusion on what was prevented.
No, there wasn't. It was very well explained in that beforehand.
Hold on, Richard. It was interpreted incorrectly because per Robert's rules, friendly amendments are allowed to anything that's brought ahead by the board, and via that, then it would only take a 51% majority to change the rules because that initial vote was brought by the state body. So there was only 51% majority needed at the time because all they did was do an amendment to the actual the actual vote that was brought ahead to it. This is per Robert's rules. This has got nothing to do with personal anything. So by Robert's rules, twice, one via the meeting that was incorrect, and then 2 by the state body meeting that was also he was vindicated. So it's got nothing to do with that. Now, if we want to bring up the fact that we shouldn't have done per Robert's rules, I guess say remove the ban, well, fine, but we are talking about a series of things at this point in time that are just out of bounds. None of that should have happened in the first place, and Mr. Bilby should have been cleared months ahead of time. You have obviously read further into the Robert's rules than I have, and it is, as you know, a very, very large document. It is very procedural, and at this point, this is where we need a parliamentarian who understands that to the utmost. However, where we were at, we went with what we had, and that's where we're at.
But by doing what we did, you guys are violating the bylaws.
But we're not,
regardless of what you want to say,
because
you had a vote that is
they
breaking
weren't
the bylaws by Robert's rules.
We have invalid. Okay, if you want to call it an invalid vote, that's fine, but it's an invalid vote on an invalid thing.
No, it's not.
Yeah, the original penalty was invalid. The vote in the state body meeting was presented invalidly. He was cleared by the state body technically via Robert's rules. Do you disagree?
Do what now?
He was validated by that ban was cleared by the state body because friendly amendments are allowed.
Rich, since you studied Robert's rules, are friendly amendments allowed? Yes or no?
Yeah, I believe so. I'd have to go back and check. But
correct. And via but they don't change the amount of
so
people that's required.
Here's my thing.
Let Steve talk.
And you guys can decide what you want to decide.
Please let me finish.
Yeah, let Steve finish. He wasn't done.
Did the board present on the official agenda that was voted on by the body? Did they did they present quote unquote the Bill B question? Yes or no? Was it on the official agenda?
I'd have
Presented-
to get the agenda. I don't have it with me.
Yes, it was.
Absolutely it was. Was a friendly amendment made to that proposal?
I don't know how friendly it was, but yeah, I believe it was made there.
So what would be considered a friendly amendment was made to that proposal? Yes or no? Answer is yes. What percentage of vote did Mr. Bilby need to have his suspension lifted?
I'd have to look up at Robert's rules.
51%.
50.
51%.
What percentage of vote did he receive?
I would have to
58.
look that up.
58. So we actually voted to undo his suspension. So what happened in our last meeting is we all agreed, hey, because the proposal that was made, not only did it undo the 4-year suspension, and this was presented by Mr. Coakley. Coakley recommended, he's the one that put it on the agenda. His recommendation or what he proposed that we vote on was not only canceling Bilby's suspension, but also
No.
reinstating him.
No.
It was a reinstatement to his position and canceling his suspension.
No.
What? Because it was presented by the board, it only needed 50%. It was
But-
reworded. It was reworded as a friendly amendment, which does not
There
change.
was a
it to
motion from the floor
supermajority.
that should have required a supermajority, which it did not pass with a supermajority.
Now hold on, wait,
'Cause it was a friendly
Rich,
amendment to the original
Stephen, hold on.
presentation.
Hold on, Stephen. The friendly amendment did pass with a 70% pass rate when to pass the amendment. They did ask that, and it did pass at 70%.
So do you
the
have the
friendly
bio- or do
amendment
you have
was
the
accepted by
ordinance?
70% of the state body. Then the vote went past that, and so they voted 70% yes on the amendment. So that is a pass on the amendment because it only needs 63%. Then after that, he got a 58% after that, but he only needed a 51% because it's a
It
friendly
wasn't
amendment
58,
to a
but-
state to an item that was brought by the state board. So that requires only 51% after that, per Robert's
And he
rules.
And he got 58%.
It was
Correct.
a motion by the floor to change the wording.
Correct. It's
Yes,
a friendly
it was.
amendment.
And
so-
that's not,
Wait. And so when we voted to unsuspend Bilby, we all agreed.
no,
we
I
all
never agreed to anything.
Okay, let me rephrase this.
Well, of course you didn't, Rich, but regardless,
The majority of the board agreed that since Bilby's position was already filled, we could not undo the harm caused him from a position perspective. What we voted on was to undo the harm caused by him by the suspension. We couldn't undo the fact we already voted to fill his position. The vast majority of the board agreed we could not unfill his position and give it back to him. We already had somebody in that spot. So we decided the right thing to do, the just thing to do, was to void his suspension, which
But
never
you
should
didn't
have
have
happened.
you didn't have the authority to make that motion.
I think
I know. I mean, it's in Robert's rules. I'll send it to you after we get done here, but you didn't. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
But
on the agenda, it stated motion to have state body support the removal of James Bilby from the USAWKS BOD. That was on the agenda, the exact verbiage. There was an amendment, a friendly amendment made to that motion. That's what gave us the authority to do what we did.
Still needs a super majority, but like I said, I mean, you guys do what you want. You guys agree with what you want. But you're violating bylaws.
Hold on, wait, hold on.
Is something?
Rich,
No,
Rich
no,
Zimmerman.
it is something that a bunch of you got up and talked
is-
about the old board violating bylaws and not following the rules.
Okay.
Not same boat. I was just saying we're going down the same path.
Okay, we are not.
well, number
I mean,
one, we're not because
we were-
everybody
hold
in
on,
the
Richard.
state has the ability to listen.
Correct. We are absolutely trying to undo that. And we are trying to make it very transparent to the state that what happened was not okay. And we are not doing that again. And it's not a you versus us, Rich. You are part of this board and we appreciate every bit of input you give us.
I agree.
Absolutely.
I need people like you to say, hey man, this probably wasn't right or wrong or otherwise. We absolutely appreciate all of your input, man. This is not a you versus us. This is us trying to make wrestling better, man.
Hey, Scott.
We're also
Coach
giving
Scott
the
Reed has his
state.
hand up. Hold on. Scott has his hand up. Go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, I'm not going to spend a long time here on this, but I agree with Richard Zimmerman, because I don't know what you guys meant by wasn't clear. It seemed really clear from my perspective what we were voting on at the state body meeting.
God, I don't think that
With
it-
that,
I don't
with
think
that
the
said,
issue-
can I finish talking?
Hey, let him finish. Let him finish, please.
With that said, we are wasting a lot of valuable time on this topic when we still have so much stuff
To get
take
through.
care of. And we keep
Totally agree.
beating this
Totally
dead
agree.
horse.
I agree.
Why don't we get through a year and then come back and revisit this and at least appease the people who voted the way they voted by just a year?
I totally agree. If James Bilby wants to run for a position next year, let the state body figure out if they want to vote him into something or not.
Yes,
It's
but
really
right
no
now-
consequence this time. We have a lot of things to move on to.
Well,
I mean,
for
we
all
need to be
practical
pounding
purposes,
sand in other
that's what we
areas.
did.
That's it.
Thank you. Thank you,
I don't-
Scott.
This is Dylan Keller. I don't agree with tabling the idea, because then you're saying that you're tabling the option of James can't run again next year because it's been tabled. I think we've given the state body their choice where he can come back and vote or he can come back and run if he wants to, because we may have done enough damage as a state board. He may not ever want to run for us again or be on the state of Kansas board ever again. But we gave James the option to run if he wants to come back, and we gave the state a voice. If he comes back and runs, they can choose to put him in there. So I don't agree with tabling it.
Well, I think Scott said something really smart, among many things. But we're spending so much energy focused on negative stuff. When are we going to
Hey.
turn to the positive stuff?
I see someone's hand up. Jesse, please go.
Hey, I just want to chime in here a little bit. As being on the board last year and privy to this information, I don't disagree with anything Richard Zimmerman's saying, but at the same point, I think some of the confusion here is what actually transpired. Okay, we did not reinstate James Bilby. At no, I don't think anybody on this board thought that was the proper thing to do, to reinstate James Bilby. What the board took action on, as far as I'm concerned, is removing the 4-year ban.
And that's
And
what
I
the
think we're
minutes say. That's exactly what the minutes say, was to remove
Correct.
James Bilby 4-year ban.
correct. So in no way, shape, or form is James Bilby being reinstated to his position, but the 4-year ban, and I don't want to get into the specifics of where that came from or why that is even a topic of discussion right now, because I don't think I know why it was. Rich Zimmerman knows why it was. I think we need to move on. We need to get past this. We spent an entire year talking about this last year without getting anything done at the state board level. And now we continue to talk about this and waste time on this topic when really all we're asking is the fact that James Bilby is not reinstated. He is not part of the state board, but if he wants to go in front of the state body next October and run for a position, okay, so be it. But as of today, we need to move forward. We need to stop wasting time on this topic. We need to move forward. We need to focus on our state folk style tournament and a lot of other things. And I don't think this should be an issue anymore. We
Well,
can
like I
get into
said,
the.
I mean, you guys do what you want, but it's violating Robert's Rules of Order. So that's all I'm going to say about it. You know.
Okay. Thank you. As part of the agenda going through this rebuttal, we stated the rebuttal. Thank you, Rich. Thank you for all the conversation. The board has spoken relative to the review. The decision, we're sticking with the decision that was made per the minutes as read. And if I hear hear a motion to do any different, that's where we're going to leave this, is what was decided by the board.
Kurt, does Jesse still have his hand up?
Yeah, he does.
Okay.
Jesse, your hand's still up.
Click the thingy.
I don't know why. I'm
You
gonna
got to click the
undo
little
that.
hand
I
thingy up top.
Yeah,
I did
sorry
click
about that.
Yeah,
I fixed it for you.
Anyway, with that, we will move on. We had, I'm moving on to the special body meeting that occurred at the Warrior Classic. The budget was approved that day. There was 33 yeses, 6 noes, and 2 abstained. 41 people voted that day. There was a quorum, and ledgers were taken by each district, and that's how that quorum was formed. There was over 5 people in each district that was represented, and there was a total of sign-ins, that's what I'm saying, sign-ins of 48 people there. I don't know if they stayed the whole entire time, but when we took the vote, there was 41 people who voted at that time. I really appreciated the Warrior Classic. The board was under quite a bit of, to think not even having a board approved budget right now and trying to pull off state tournament, answering the questions that we're trying to do. I really appreciate everybody's effort in being able to get there that day and the outcome as it occurred. That said, Freestyle Greco state qualifier. I want to start and go down new business and allow us to get into the other discussions that have to do with Freestyle Greco state qualifier. The t-shirt sales at the booth at the state tournament. What's going on in the men's team? What's going on in the women's team? And with that, I will turn it over to Coach Scott at this time. And I would some of the stuff I want the board to recognize what his plans are and either agree with them or disagree. I know there's some things that I've mentioned to him that I wanted to make sure we're as okay with this board in moving forward. And with that, Scott, will you start with the Freestyle Greco state qualifier?
Well, first thing I want to do is fill everybody in on where we're at as far as where we're going to have the state tournament. I think that's pretty important. So I talked to Dane Edwards, and May 3rd and 4th, 2025, we want to host the state Freestyle Greco tournament at Hutch JUCO with 6 mats on the floor, and then also utilize Hutch High School with 4 mats on the floor. And we would run the girls session and the kids sessions on Saturday this year, flip-flop them, because last year they're Sunday and they went quite some time. And so we're hoping with 10 mats it'll alleviate a lot of stress on the high school facility. And on any of the qualifying dual team members, women and 14U, we would run 3-man mechanics on that day on Saturday with challenges. The rest of the competitors, we wouldn't use 3-man mechanics, just those trying to qualify for a dual spot. Then on Sunday, we would do cadets, 16U, and juniors. And same deal, we would use 3-man mechanics plus challenges for those guys. And I had Joe Connect run numbers on 8 mats, 10 mats, and even 12 mats. And, using both facilities, just as we should get out of there at a good hour. And I sent that information to Kurt as well. Let's see here. Any questions so far on any of that?
I want to make sure that Amanda has those dates down. You said May what?
3rd and
Saturday,
4th.
3rd and
Yep,
4th.
I have that down.
Thank you.
So that would be a Saturday and Sunday. And I talked to Dane about a profit, and he agreed that he would give 10 grand and he would pay officials, but I would pay for the hotels for the officials. And Venegas says that he believes we'll need around 20 officials.
So is there,
Or actually be more than that. It would be 19 rooms, and he put 2 in a room.
and the rooms would cost us approximately what?
Well, I don't know. I gotta
Probably-
get bored. I mean, I would say probably $100, anywhere from 98 to 120 is usually the going rate.
So I have a question. Can I raise my hand? I have a question.
First, hey, before Stephen, JC had his hand up first.
No, I just had a quick question for Scott. Is the
Yeah.
plan for the state freestyle and Greco to still be a qualifier for the high schools for
No, that
cardio?
was the next thing I was gonna go to,
Okay,
but I was
all
gonna
right,
wait
I'll be-
till, you know what I'm saying? I wanted to let everybody know where we're at with
Okay.
the state venue and state tournament and the dates and whatnot. And I was gonna jump to that next.
I'll be patient. Sorry.
Okay.
So,
So
may I
back
ask
to
a
the
question?
rooms. I'm sorry,
May I ask
go
a
ahead,
question,
Steve.
Kurt?
Yeah, go ahead.
So my question is this: for the folk style state tournament, we go out and have to solicit competitive bids. Why are we not soliciting competitive bids and looking at other options for freestyle?
You talking
Well,
about
because
watching the game?
for one right now, this late in the ball game, I would say that it's probably best we get the venue that we got, which is the JUCO, which would be nice having it at the JUCO because they don't have wrestling and they need wrestling. It's hopefully plant a seed in the administration's head, that, you know, showing the amount of people there at their JUCO for wrestling.
Okay, let me rephrase my question. Why do we use one set of principles and processes for folk style? And I'm not talking about this year, in general. Why aren't we being more visionary and why aren't we getting competitive bids? You know,
Well, we're gonna
in
get there.
advance?
And
Stephen,
my vision is Wichita State, but right now we got to do what we got to do this late in the game.
Stephen,
you
Stephen, I agree with you, and Scott, I agree with you. This thing kind of got wonky because, right, we didn't have it till November, right? We didn't have, there was no lead in time this year, right? And Scott, I loved your Wichita State idea. I think that's a fantastic way. And I also think that's a fantastic way to start trying to talk to them about getting wrestling. But Stephen, I also agree that, like, right, we need to have like bids on this stuff. So it's 6 to 1, half dozen of the other at this point in time because it's kind of late in the game. I mean, I don't know.
I'll give you an example. Hartman Arena could hold more than enough mats to do this. And typically speaking, Park City loves wrestling. They love wrestling. And I'm going to say 10 years ago, every wrestling event that they hosted at Hartman Arena, the Park City Convention Business Bureau was donating $10,000. They were basically donating the cost of renting Hartman Arena just to get a wrestling event in. Why aren't we looking at it from that perspective?
because I wanted to get this nailed down. I got a lot on my plate in a short amount of time, and piddling with that wasn't priority. Priority was getting a site for our kids and getting a date put out there so people can start getting hotels and getting it on their calendar so they know where the Freestyle Greco State tournament is. If I keep waiting and piddling, then you're going to get people that aren't even going to commit to it if they can't get it on their calendar now.
And I saw someone in the chat say, "Hey, can we take a look at that for next year?" And Scott, you had answered that you definitely would like to do that. I saw. I
Yes, in
heard.
fact, I talked to you about that, but right
Yeah.
now I think the best plan of attack is getting this on the calendar and working with Dane to make it happen for our kids
Yeah,
before high school season is over.
Mickey, you have your hand up. You have a question?
Yeah, so in the past, we've just used one building. What is the reasoning we're looking at doing two different buildings instead of just sticking with one building?
Because the
then
girls were there till 11 o'clock on Sunday.
11 o'clock at night?
Yeah, but why not find a bigger building?
So
That's
yeah,
why we're having it at the JUCO. He can put technically 8 mats down at the JUCO.
so then why don't we just have it at the JUCO?
Well, we can, but like I said, I had Joe, and this is something I'll send you guys the numbers. Joe did it for 8 mats. He did it for 10 mats. He did it for 12 mats. Now, the problem is getting officials to do that many mats. Venegas believes he can get enough officials to do 10 mats. Well, if that's the case, then we would just put 4 over in the high school and 6 in the JUCO. And they're just across the street from one another. If we did 8 mats, we can have the girls and the kids done on Saturday around 5:30. If we do 10 mats, it's a lot quicker.
Jesse's got his hand up.
Yes.
Yeah, I was just gonna comment on what Scott just said. When we're talking about JUCO versus they're right next to each other, so don't think that it's like completely separate buildings. I guess they are separate buildings, but they're right next to each other.
Yeah. Susan, I see your hand up too.
So just actually a couple things. Just from a coaching perspective, it's incredibly hard to keep track of 2 buildings. And if you have kids in both buildings, even if they are right next to each other, it's incredibly difficult to go running back and forth when you got one kid on mat one, in one building and the other one in the other building. Secondly, if I'm in charge of freestyle and Greco, how come I didn't have a say in where we were having the tournament at?
Because I just did it.
Yeah, but
wasn't it there last year?
I
if it was
last year.
It's been there for about the last 10
been there
years.
at
Last
least
2 years.
at least.
Okay, but no
And so it's like,
offense.
why change all of a sudden when
Okay,
we almost
so
got
if I'm
put
gonna
in
change it to
November?
Olathe, Kansas, then next year you're not gonna get a say in it.
Well, you can move the
But
girls
that's what
wherever
you
you
said to
want.
me.
Is that where we're going with this? I figured
No.
you'd be happy I did it.
No, but what I'm
It got
saying
it
is,
done.
if we're gonna
I
be a
didn't know you
team,
were gonna gripe about it.
alls I'm
Seriously,
saying is don't
Hold
make
on, wait.
decisions.
On that note, guys, that's not actually too far off. We might actually end up having a girls and a boys completely separate with numbers going where they are. We might actually next year, we might have to look at 2 separate locations as the girls are doubling. So I understand where we're at and arguing what is, but for
And
next year's
Charlie, you're
purposes,
right.
we are very
And
close to this.
That was
I'm not
another
arguing
reason why
what
we thought about 10 mats, because Joe said, our girls' numbers are going to increase again compared to last year's count when he went off of last
totally
year's
get it,
numbers.
Scott, but can I finish my thought? Alls I'm saying is please don't make decisions based on the girls on what you think. You could have at least emailed me and said, hey, this is what my thought is, this is what my plan is, before you zung it in front of the board. It would have just been nice to be included in something that is actually my job.
Okay, I'll take that into consideration.
I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
I see Dylan has his hand up.
Yes.
This is Dylan. I'm going to touch on what was already brought up by Susan, that going between 2 gyms is absolute hell on a coach. We're from Western Kansas, so we don't have a lot of people who coach freestyle and Greco. In fact, out here we have 3 coaches that do it for our RTC. or 3 primary coaches and going between 2 rooms. We did it at districts last year. And I had to run down a hallway. It was in the same building, but I had to run down a hallway to get to our high school kids. And that was holding up matches because they didn't have a coach. And they don't hold matches in freestyle and Greco. If you ain't got a coach, they send it. So I don't like the idea of going back between 2 different arenas to make it work. I'm absolutely 100% against that because it is not easy on us as coaches.
Well, that was just a thought Dane had. We can always condense it down to just the JUCO on 8 mats.
Richard, I see your hand up.
Yes, there's been a question about this tournament for some time. How much money did we spend? USA Wrestling Kansas paid for all of the officials or half the officials last year, and Hutch High School pocketed all of the tournament entry fees and all the gate fees, correct?
What
So-
happened was that we sponsored 3-man mechanics, and we also took care of a couple some rooms to help out with that. We did not get any money back on the tournament at all. We did spend that money toward 3-man mechanics, and I think that came in around, I want to say that was around $7,000 by the time we got done with that in hotel rooms. I'd have to really look.
So about 10 years ago, we set Hutch and Bueller High School, Mike Juby and Mike Garcia were the co-hosts. Then when Mike Garcia retired, Hutchinson cut Bueller out. So Hutchinson High School or the Hutchinson Wrestling Club, however, the Booster Club pockets all of that, the gate fee, the entry fees and the admission fee. I don't recall if they charged admission to get in. As I recall, they did. But Hutchinson pockets all that money. Why aren't they paying? Why aren't we getting something for our own state tournament?
Well, we're getting 10 grand this year, and then we do have to pay for hotels, but he's going to pay for the officials. Plus he's setting up, plus he's breaking down. All we got to do is roll in there and then pay for the officials to get our lodging.
We have never gotten money on that tournament. Last year, we spent money on there trying to bring about 3-man mechanics and helping out with that. But that was just last year. This year, we have nothing in the budget for it. If they are offering 10 grand and they're asking for 19 rooms at 120 or
Even if it's 2,500 for the total, I mean, you're still coming out a hell of a lot better than you did last year. You got to set up or break down. You just got to show up and it's done.
I see hands up on Susan, Dylan, and Mickey. Are your hands still up, or is that just from the last time?
No, I have a question, Bill.
Who was that?
This is Mickey.
Okay.
This is Mickey. So if you do 2 gyms, are you gonna do first come on mats? Or are you gonna assign mats? Like, how do you plan on running that?
Well, that's what Dane, the first thing I told Dane is I'm gonna have to float this by the board, how they want this set up. Now, if you go 2 different mats or 2 different venues, I'm sure he's going to set it up by age divisions. And so he'll have probably the women, since they're qualifying in the 14Us over at the college with 3-man mechanics and challenges. And then the other side of it will be the kids. Now, that's not set in stone. We're just trying to determine, do you want 2 venues with 10 mats or 1 venue with 8 mats? And what'll happen is we go 1 with 8. Yes, it's going to extend it a little longer, but we won't have to pay as many rooms for officials because we won't need as many officials.
Okay.
So that's where we're at.
So
as long
Kurt,
as you even want it, as long as you even want it there.
Dylan, is your hand still up?
Yes, I have another question.
Okay, go ahead then.
My question comes like we're doing all of this, and yes, it's great that Hutch is asking or offering to pay 10,000, but this is a state tournament. We're probably losing $30,000 of revenue that could go right back into freestyle and Greco. Why are we giving that just to Hutch and not soliciting another bid from another arena? Also, if Hartman Arena is offering 10,000, like was stated, if they'd give 10,000 for it, that's the same money being offered, and we could take the entry fees.
Cool. Hey, real quick. Hey, Susan, are you on?
I am.
Hey, real quick, to alleviate all this, can you or have you talked to Hartman Arena about, can we host the girls on Friday? Like Friday, Saturday, whatever. Like, can we, have you talked about doing a girls thing? Because I would be totally down for that. Myself, obviously, girl dad, but to work with the boys and like 2 separate locations, it would make my life a hell of a lot easier, personally.
I have not, but I mean, I'm willing to do that. I mean, yes, I would love to do that.
So Kurt,
I was going to say, Stephen and I both have contacts. Yeah.
Kurt, I would actually like to make a motion. Is this an appropriate time to do that?
I really, when listening to Scott real quick, before anybody goes forward, part of what he's up against, or anybody would be up against, is making sure there's enough officials to do 3-man mechanics. So
I totally agree with that. Scott kind of got painted in a corner this year with time frames and stuff, and I'm with that. But
we had to bring officials from out of state last year.
Not easy. It's not easy.
Stephen, did you want to make your motion and then, or Kurt, can Stephen make his motion? Then we can at least see what he has to say.
Is it in the form of a motion?
It is.
Okay.
I want to make a motion that we table the decision on where Freestyle State is, and we give ourselves 30 days to go get a 1-year competitive bid from at least 3 locations that fits the needs of USA Wrestling Kansas from a financial perspective and our children from a wrestling perspective. And we give ourselves 30 days and we go figure out, let's go get a bid from, we got Hutch's bid, let's go get Hartman's bid, let's go look at Kansas Star, let's go look at Salina Event Center, whatever the case may be. Let's make an attempt. We're up against the deadline for kids Folkstyle State that's a month and a half away, and we're fretting about, I got to get it done. We're 5 months away from the freestyle. Let's go do a decision that's in the best interest of USA Wrestling Kansas and our kids.
I second Stephen's motion.
Me too.
Discussion.
Me too. Was that Mickey or Susan?
It was Susan,
It
but
was
all
Susan.
was needed was the original motion by Stephen, and you seconded it. Discussion on the motion.
Yeah. Okay. So I think it's super valid. With the growth of girls wrestling, and it's obviously doubling almost in a year in, year out basis. And honestly, the boys and guys, I've only been in this for a couple of years, but I watched the state tournament a couple of years ago versus what it was last year versus what I'm hoping it's going to be this year. And obviously, with my plan to make sure we get as many high school participants as possible, we need to start looking at 2 separate locations. It's just where we are. And if we're going to be progressive and move forward and make sure we are getting the most kids possible, we probably need to sit down and start looking at competitive bids so we can run 2 different state tournaments at a time. I mean, 100%. If we're going to send the best kids we got, we got to make sure we're giving them their due diligence and we're not making them wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and wrestle till 12 o'clock at night. Because I know my daughter last year, she wrestled 10 matches. And by the time she got to that 10th match that day, I mean, she was wasted that night. That is what it is. So I'm all for it.
Any other discussion?
I call this is Richard.
This is Jesse. I want to say one thing. I guess I just want to speak out on this for this year. We are all up against a time frame here, right? We didn't even have our state body meeting until November. And from that standpoint and a time point standpoint, I don't know that if it's in our best interest right now to, I mean, Scott's already up against a whole lot, and I don't know if it's in our best interest right now to go ahead and try to find another venue when we have one secured, we have a location secured, we're ready to move forward this year. We're in a transition period, and I want to get through this, and I want to get into next year. We all want to have a good folk style state tournament, and Scott wants to have a really good freestyle Greco state tournament. And I don't know that if it's in our best interest right now at this point to start looking for different venues. So I'm a little bit opposed to changing too much at this point, but that's my comments on that, I guess.
Thank you, Jesse. Susan, you had your hand up.
Yes, I think just because I know you guys think 5 months is not a lot of time, but I feel like we at least have to try. I'm willing, now that my own schools tournament is over, which we had this past weekend, I feel like I'm in a good place as far as the shirts for the state tournament. I'm happy to reach out to some places and see if they're willing to bid on this freestyle and Greco. And maybe this year, if you guys want to, you go ahead and keep the guys at Hutch and the girls will do something else. If it's a smaller place, maybe we could even have it somewhere near Kansas City. I don't know, but I'm willing to at least try to find a location that we can have everything in one place, or maybe not separate. But I feel like we at least need to give it a shot and not just say that I think it's too close that we shouldn't try.
Yeah. Charles, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I do. I agree on the fact that 5 months is it's enough time. It's enough time to go figure out something else. I do like Scott. Look, I like the Hutch thing for the dudes. I really do. I think we've done an amazing job there last 2 years. But again, I think it's time to start looking at things. And nobody voted us in to complain about being voted in November and not having enough time. Right? Like, we got voted in, so fair enough. So we're a month and a half late, so fair enough. Like, we can't complain about being 60, 80 days late. Like, we just got to get things done. That's why they voted us in.
Scott?
Yeah. When you guys talk about 5 months isn't nothing. How many of you guys been calling and thinking about where we're going to have camp for Fargo? How many of you guys have you called on air conditioned dorms or dorms at all for Fargo?
I already have my location set up for Fargo camp.
Okay. Those are the things, though. There's a lot to be done with all of it between the kids state and this. And if we fart around and then you don't get something, they might say, screw it anyway. I'm not going to put it on. I'm not going to set it up. I'm not going to break it down and be done with it. And then we're really in a pickle.
Hey, Scott, I'd like to make a comment.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think our board has functioned really well up to this point. And you know what? If you get stuck and you need help, I will help you. You don't have to tackle this thing on your own. I knew I couldn't tackle the kids state tournament by myself. That's why we expanded our state tournament committee to include 2 to 3 people from other districts for 2 reasons. One, because I can't do it by myself. And 2, because I wanted the thoughts and ideas and I want the hearts and minds of those districts. Don't feel like you have to do this by yourself. Reach out to other people on the board, reach out to people in the districts. We will help you. You don't have to do it by yourself.
So we had a motion on the floor. It was seconded. Are we done with discussions?
Yes.
Kurt,
There was a
Kurt, I'd like
question
to,
in the chat that
I'm sorry, go ahead, Rich.
Kim brought up. Does the budget actually allow for having 2 freestyle Greco events, state tournaments?
We do not have anything in the budget for freestyle Greco state tournament. So I'll go back to, can we call the question and go to a decision? It's getting close to 8:30 and we've been on for 2 hours and I want to make sure we move on too. But we need to move on correctly and making sure the right decisions and stuff are being made.
This is Susan Redmond. I like to motion to table this discussion.
Well, we already have a motion on the floor.
Yep.
Susan, this is Richard. If we were to have this out at Hartman Arena, I believe we could have the girls and boys all in the same location. Is that a problem for you? You
Not
want to
at
have
all.
the girls? Okay.
No, I would love to have it in one location just so parents only have to come once. Parents only
Right.
have to pay entrance fees for, their little 2 and 3-year-old ones. I would love to have it in a location. I just don't think that we should all be there till midnight. And I don't feel that girls should get shafted and do it on a Wednesday or whatever. I feel like it would be fantastic just for parents and to have it in one location.
I
And
concur.
for coaches as well. Coaches don't want to give up every single weekend in May. They're already getting ready for Fargo and to other national tournaments. I think if we can consolidate, I think that would be better for coaches and families.
Totally agree.
Okay.
I believe that I don't know if Nate's online with us, but I believe that we could get 14 max in Hartman, maybe not 14 if they're the bigger ones, but I know 14 of the maze mats will fit in Hartman Arena.
Yeah, but the deal is getting that many officials.
Okay, so we need to figure that out. But here's the thing: if you only got officials for 10, right? If you only got officials for 10 in the Hutch model, okay, let's put 10 in Hartman. Let's get Park City to fund the building, and then the only thing we're paying for, the board, is for referees and hotels, and USA Wrestling pockets all the money instead of some local high school, right?
And it's all in one building. More importantly, it's in one building.
Well, Rich, you can put 10 mats in Hutch JUCO. And one thing you guys are missing is you're saving so much money by not setting up, not paying officials, not breaking down, on and on and on. All you got to do is show up with your kids and wrestle. And you're going to make at least $8,000. I mean,
I thought it was
right now,
we could make 30 grand off of this. If USA Wrestling manages this right,
yeah, and you know what? You might stub your toe and look really, really bad this year too, instead of just going where we know we can do it. And we won't stub our toe and look bad. That's one thing you got to look at is
if I was worried about
the fact that people are doing the same thing and making the same mistake over and over again.
Nobody's
Scott,
making
to be honest
mistakes.
with you, if I was worried about looking bad, I wouldn't have made the proposals I made for folk style state. I know the plan's going to work amazingly. I'm not worried about looking good. I'm worried about what's in the best interest of our kids and USA Wrestling
Then you
Kansas.
guys go take care of it.
We have a motion on the floor. We've had discussion. Can we call the question?
It's Jesse, I call the question.
Jesse Miller calls the question. Is there a
Dylan
second?
seconds.
Dylan Keller seconds. Amanda, will you read back the motion?
I gotta go.
Oh, no, hold on.
Yep.
Let me, hold on. This is a vote to stop the discussion. Okay? Mickey, your vote to stop the discussion.
To stop the discussion?
Yeah, and go into the vote. That for the motion.
Yes, I vote to stop the discussion.
Jesse? Yes.
Yes.
Derek?
Yes.
Steve?
Absolutely.
Scott?
Yes.
Susan?
Yes.
William?
Yes.
Charles?
Yes.
Dylan?
Yes.
JC?
Yes.
Richard? And Rich?
Oops, sorry. Yes.
Rich? Rich Zimmerman?
Yeah.
Thank you. It appears as unanimous. We'll go to the motion. Amanda, will you please read the motion?
Yes, the motion was given by Stephen Foster. He stated he wanted to make a motion to table for the Freestyle Greco State to set a 30-day tabling to get bids from 3 different places because he believes that is in the best interest of Kansas kids.
Let's go to the vote. All in favor of that? We'll go through the record and I will start at the bottom this time. Rich Zimmerman, do you agree with the
So-
motion?
No.
Thank you. Rich Sawyer,
Yes.
JC,
No.
Dylan,
Yes.
Charles,
Yes.
Nigel,
Yes.
Susan,
I'm sorry, can you repeat it again? I had to listen to something else. My apologies.
the motion was to table it for 30 days while
Yes,
3. Okay.
thank you. I apologize. Thank you.
Scott,
No.
Susan, are you guilty as I am of watching the Chiefs game at the same time?
I didn't want to say.
Steve,
It's because it's tied
Yes.
29-29.
Derek,
Yes.
Jesse,
No.
Mickey.
Yes.
Okay. So Amanda, will you tell us what the vote was?
Yes, just 1 second. I'm tallying them.
Thank you for your help.
I have 4 no's and 8 yeses.
4 no's and
Hold
8
on,
yes.
let me double check that. 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 yes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, 8 yes, 4 no.
Okay. It passed, the motion passed that we will pause for 30 days on a table to vote the location of Hutch being the place where the state freestyle Greco tournament will be. That said, Scott, I want to go over one other topic before we 8:30 is right now, 8:32, and I know people watching the game also, But I want to go over one other topic, and then I'm going to go into executive session for about 15 minutes with this entire board. Okay, so Scott, if you would you talk about are you ready to talk about the qualifier relative to, will the qualifier be state? I think you had mentioned something, or someone had asked you, and we had started talking about that. But if you would go ahead with your plans.
Yeah, now on the qualifier, what a lot of coaches and I, and you know, it's not 100%, because we did have some dissenting voices in that conversation amongst the coaches when we were having our Zoom meeting last week. And, but a lot of them did believe that it would be in our best interest when picking dual teams, we form committees and go off committees to pick teams. And then what that would look like is what the kids do at regionals, northern regionals, southern regionals. Ironically, this year you got 6 regionals on 2 dates, and which is odd. And so it's going to be difficult. But with that said, also using the state tournament as definitely, to take into consideration. And then if we got something that I want to do, which is district duels, and put a district dual freestyle tournament together like we do for the kids, for the 14Us, and have it for Greco as well. And maybe use those duels on the same dates that we would have, say, the Dodge City tournament, and then say the duels or something the next day, or vice versa. But here nor there, there would be a lot of different ways to evaluate these kids for these committees.
Okay. Jesse, you have your hand up. Please go, please.
Yeah, so I just want to make sure I understand. We're talking about removing criteria basically from the duels team as placements from our freestyle Greco tournament. Is that right? State tournament?
Correct. I don't want to put all of our eggs in one basket. That's my biggest fear, is using one tournament to evaluate our teams and not having the flexibility to have a group of coaches who have been watching these kids throughout the year sit down and talk it out and figure out what would be their best Kansas team for freestyle and also for Greco, plus your alternate.
Anything else, Jesse?
So I guess to your point, Scott, you had mentioned the regional qualifiers as a criteria to that. I mean, do you have or are you guys talking about a roadmap for criteria, or I mean, you talked about a couple things there, so I want to understand what the proposal is here, I guess, is my main thing.
Well, we're trying to push these kids and promote these kids to in trying to use different incentives. But and I'm not going to go down that road right now, but what we want to do is see what kids have been wrestling the most, and then working on right now. For me, I love to consolidate and put more of our monies instead of in the UWWs and the journeyman, put it into trying to get as many kids to the northern and southern regionals, since that's your points. I mean, the regional tournaments where you're going to get all your points. So you might or for your seeding. So we might as well really push our kids and help them get to those different tournaments in Rochester and Oklahoma City. So when duels does roll around, we'll have some kids with some seeding criteria. Right now, I mean, if we're thinking, this year I'm trying to figure out when to do a Southern Plains camp when the Southern Plains tournament is the 16th through the 19th. And school's still going on. You can't even get in the dorms at Newman with school going on a weekend. And so we're putting money towards Southern Plains camp when I don't know if we can even have a Southern Plains. Maybe we can use that money to help transport kids to the Northern Regional and Southern Regional and get some of these kids, you know, wrestling in tournaments that they can actually compete at and compete well.
Anything else, Jesse?
Well, yeah, to that point, I guess I was just looking for what is the criteria for duels? And then also, I mean, are you looking, is it more of a focus on the pin ratings or is it more of a focus on our state Greco or freestyle Greco tournament? I mean,
Right. Obviously, if you have pin criteria over all the other kids in the state, that's a no-brainer. That's your guy, because for one, he's going to bring you seed points. And then the others that don't have those kind of criteria, then the coaches need to evaluate who's going to do the best job for us at 144 in Greco or 144 in freestyle. You know, and then have a committee of coaches from around the state that have been going with these kids to the Northern Regional, the Southern Regional, maybe at the district duels, coaching a district duel team. It's district duel 1 team A and B or district 4 team A and B. I don't know. But these are different things that we're going to have to hash out as a group of coaches. You know, what's our criteria going to be? Obviously, if you're placing at these regional tournaments, you're probably going to be the one guy. For one, you're going to have seed criteria, and we're going to need it.
yeah, so the problem there is, right? I mean, if I'm understanding the information correctly, our freestyle Greco state tournament is going to be scheduled 1 week prior to what Zach Randall and Southern Plains decided to do.
Well, we don't know anymore.
Okay.
That's up in the air now too.
I think they landed in Oklahoma City, didn't they?
No, the state tournament.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I was thinking about I misheard him. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and that's one reason, you know, I was looking at it. I think Coach Torres was going to have a tournament the 26th leading into the state tournament. And that would be a good warmer upper. And then for the state tournament, or no, you'd have the Northern Plains. No, you'd have the state tournament, then the Northern Plains leading into the Southern Regional. So you would be really, tuned up leading in from coaches tournament to the state tournament to the Northern Regional tournament to the Southern Regional tournament. And then from there at Newman, I need to talk to coach, but then we would need to have like a national duels camp instead of a Southern Plains camp, a national duels camp at Newman, because I don't know if we can swing a Southern Plains camp.
Well, I guess that's where I was going with that is if our freestyle Greco state tournament is so close to what Southern Plains or Northern Plains is going to be, the question I have there is what bearing does our Southern or does our freestyle and Greco state tournament hold if we move away from the current criteria for that?
Well, I mean, that's one of the, if you don't have points, that's a big one to win. I mean, definitely they're going to take winning the state tournament in heavy consideration, but you just don't want to drop all your eggs in one basket. What happens if somebody goes out and they get caught and pinned? And they really should be your guy, especially say he's a point getter. I mean, he's got seat criteria. And now he's on the 2 team. Or he's an alternate.
And don't get pinned.
Yeah, that's, I mean,
it's that's part of life. You don't let those things happen, Scott. You know
Yeah.
that. Hell, you're a coach.
well,
Dylan-
that's why I'm
Dylan
saying that, because I am a coach, and it does happen, and as well as I do. Sometimes it's just bad
Sometimes you
luck.
get caught.
Yep, sometimes you do, and sometimes as adults we got to see that and make the right decisions for putting our best foot forward as a state going to these national dual tournaments instead of doing what we've been doing. Tell me, Rich, has it been working? When's the last time we pulled the top 8 on the junior level?
Oh, jeez.
If you
Ever?
got to think about it, it's too long.
Yeah. Hey, we got some hands up. Dylan, please go forward with your question.
My concern with you not holding the state of Kansas as the, not, I don't want to say the end all be all, but this is our state. They go out and win our state, but then parents can't get them down to Southern Plains that's not in our state, or Northern Plains, again, not in our state. You're going to hold Southern Plains or Northern Plains over our state tournament just because it gets you seeding criteria for something. If they're the best kid in their freaking bracket, they go out there and they win. They find ways to win. It doesn't matter if they're seeded or they're not seeded. They go out and win.
Well, I mean, hopefully we got kids, we're picking from kids that are going to these tournaments and not just showing up for one tournament, the state tournament, and then not doing anything until national duels. Then we're going to get the same old. And you're wanting to talk about thinking outside the box and getting bids and looking in the future. Hell, we're banging our head against the wall and getting the same results doing what we're doing. And I'm trying to think outside the box and trying to put our best teams together like it used to be when me and Garcia and Johnson and others picked these teams. And we did pull
But I'm like saying, you're picking these teams, and in Western Kansas, where I'm from, the kids out here are massively underrepresented when they are the best kid in the state because they're not up there by you. You don't know them. You don't see them. We are underrated when we come to the state tournament and wallop the ones that you might pick because their parents can't afford to take them to Southern Plains.
Well, I look at it like this. We're going to take our best guys. Eric Lukey was from Colby. He was on those teams. Matt Murray was from Colby. He was on those teams. We had so many good Western Kansas kids on those teams. And I'm not from up there. I'm from down there. I'm in Southeast Kansas. I'm not in Northeast Kansas. And so we're a very small population down here as well. And, you know, we're trying to represent as much as possible as well. But the deal is we need to pick our best teams if we're going to be able to compete at a high level with these states.
Susan,
then that committee needs to be the district directors for freestyle and Greco and yourself. That needs to be your committee, not
that and the guys. Well, no, it's like the guys that are taking the kids to 14Us or to 16Us and the juniors. And then, yes, the district directors. But I mean, those are the guys that need to pick, the ones that are actually watching these kids compete.
The freestyle Greco district directors. We have people elected out of the districts.
Yes.
Okay.
But you also need the coaches actually cornering these guys. Because the directors, how often is the directors cornering these guys? If the state's
every time in Western Kansas, because Clay Wild does it and he sits in the corner every weekend.
I know, and he's the one taking the 14Us.
He has not committed to you that he's taking 14Us. So don't put things in people's mouths. No, I talked to Clay tonight. He did not.
Hey, that's enough. Let Clay.
He did. In fact, I sent him the hotel reservations. He told me he was going to do it. I got text messages and emails. I mean, why are we doing this?
I kind of agree with both sides. I do agree that we shouldn't basically develop our national team based on one tournament. I do agree that it should be based off of multiple tournaments. However, I think it shouldn't be like, hey, you did good at this one and crappy at this one, so now you don't get to go. I also think that it should be a collaboration of the who's laughing at me? It's incredibly rude. you can't base a child's performance nationally, which I have done probably more than most people on this. So whoever laughed, disrespectful. When you're traveling
Susan, I
nationally,
wasn't, this is Richard. I was not laughing at you. I was getting up from, and I kind of grimaced as I was getting up from my table. I apologize if you thought I was
no
laughing at you.
worries. Okay, no worries. But you can't base a child and how they're going to do nationally based on a state tournament. One, the venue is different. A lot of kids get stage fright, even if they do really great at a state tournament. If they've never traveled nationally, it's incredibly overwhelming. And so I kind of feel like there should be, yes, criteria, but maybe not criteria based off of one state. And maybe honestly, there should be some coaches input. Say, hey, I got this really great kid who can't travel, but I think he'd be a stud. I think there should be some type of opportunity for kids that can't afford to travel nationally. But I don't know how we would do that. I don't know the answer to that, but I don't feel like our national team should be developed based off of one tournament.
We do have the money to help these kids move around and travel. It's just a matter of doing it. We can get the vans or the buses or whatever to get them to Rochester, and the same to Oklahoma City. And I'd love to get 300 to 400 kids, but to those two venues, to those two sites, to wrestle in freestyle and Greco. And if we need to get a bus, take a bus. But again, we need to get on it because we need to get the rooms if we do it.
Yeah. Right now, it's not budgeted to do that yet either.
Well,
So-
no,
Well,
that's
can I
why we
ask-
needed, that's why we need to look at the Southern Plains budget and use some of that money for that kind of stuff. Because I mean, really, we can't, I don't know how to do a Southern Plains camp when college is still going on.
Sure. Mickey, you have your hand up. It's been up for the third person.
Yeah, I actually have a couple questions for Scott. One of them is how many of the first placers from state made it on to the tournament teams last year or in the past? And the other one is what incentive for winners that go to the state and they take first, but they don't get picked to be on the dual team? What incentive would they have to come back and to continue to come to the Freestyle Greco State and to continue to grow the tournament?
Well, that's part of the deal that we got to set, a lot of rules. This is what we're going to do and stick to it. Because in the end, what it's going to do is it's going to alleviate a lot of the ranking matches and different things like that when kids don't show up for the state tournament.
So you're saying there is no incentive for the kids to come back, and
Well,
that
there's
if they
incentive,
don't
yeah,
come
every
back,
time you
then
get to
it's
wrestle-
not an issue.
Yeah, every time you get to compete against somebody that you want to see that's at a high level, and they're going to be at the state tournament because that's part of the criteria, then but I'm not comfortable putting all my eggs in one basket. I don't see how it's been fruitful for us the last several years. And if we're going to continue doing it, then we're going to have the same outcome. And
But if your number one pick that you say has higher criteria, say Jasper, say he isn't that good, and he comes in and he sticks your number one pick that has a higher criteria and beats him in the match and takes first, but you feel that Jasper isn't wealthy or better to go, and you take in that match, the loser, what are you telling the winner of that match?
well, if the loser places at Northern Plains and Southern Plains and gets caught and pinned at state and he's got C criteria, I would say then you needed to go to those other tournaments. We need to take guys that are competing all the time and preparing themselves for the national duels, not just the guy that shows up for state and then doesn't wrestle again until national duels. And if it's a financial thing, we have the money. We can redirect funding for those kids. I do it with my own club. We scholarship kids in that don't, that can't swing it. And so that's not an issue. I've
So,
did the Levitt
so you're,
funds for kids too when I was at Pittsburgh and got kids to Fargo on the Levitt fund. And a lot of there's ways to get our kids to these northern regionals, to these southern regionals,
so now you're saying that they have to go out of state to qualify for the
Yeah.
Kansas
No,
State tournament.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying
Or the
that's
state
Chiefs win.
criteria.
That's part of the criteria. But I don't want to throw all my eggs in one basket. I want our kids to. Where
But
you guys
you
got to
are if
understand
you're
is
saying they have to have a high enough criteria.
what I'm saying is
Because
I
you're
want
not
guys
giving
to
the
wrestle.
lower criteria that stuck your higher criteria at the tournament a chance to go and to
Right.
prove you on the dual team that they're just as worthy.
The deal is this: we got to put our best guys on the mat at national duels. We need to promote and get our kids wrestling as much as they possibly can. So when
Okay,
they
so
do
what
go to
best
these
guy
duels,
did not get to go last year?
I don't know. I didn't do it last year. I have no idea.
Then why is it an issue?
So then why
this
are we
year?
changing it this year?
It
The
seems to be a
reason- so
big
it doesn't-
issue.
I'm telling you, I don't want it to happen. I want to put our best
But
team
has it
on.
happened in the past?
Well, of course it happens. It always happens.
But you just said you don't know that it has happened. So how can you prove
No,
that
I
it
said
has happened?
I cannot key in on a specific event. But are you
Amanda,
telling
I
me?
can tell you that District 2 in years past has felt the same pain that you have, and I don't have to look that far back. I can mention the Lindsay boys.
Can I chime in here real fast?
We had, yes, you can. Yeah.
Thank you, Kurt. Hey guys, kind of as one of the guys who does, I run cadet here, or I've been with the cadet team the last couple of years. Scott, I understand your pain of, dude, we're underperforming nationally, and I totally agree with that, and we have. Right, the junior clubs are, when we go to nationals for the duels, man, we have not performed well. At cadets last year, we performed marginally, right? Everybody's okay with that, yes. And we can look at the results, and I don't think anybody's going to disagree with the performances that we've had, at least on the boys' side. Now, Susan, you had your cadet girls do very well last year, and your junior girls do very well, very well last year. My question is, all right, so one, in wrestling, up until here, where we're talking about changing things, is like, from the high school perspective, is where I live, is, if you perform poorly at regionals, you don't go to state. If you don't perform well at state, you don't get on the podium, right? It's a performance-based deal, right? I mean, you do well, you get well. So that's fair. And then as far as, but on the same note, at the freestyle state, this is where we pick our alternates, right? For instance, last year, and Coach Ryan Smith, I think he just got on here, but he can attest to this. I lobbied very, very hard for two young men, Donald Jackson and Maximus Pryor, who I had watched through the Andale tournament and the Warren 54, and I'd watched those kids closely, and they didn't perform well at the state tournament, but I lobbied very, very hard for them to get on our dual team. And then when we got them on our dual team, they performed very, very well for us, and also performed very well at Fargo for us. So I think that's maybe, I don't know. There's got to be a sweet spot in between picking teams where it looks like we're picking one team or the other versus, I mean, I think we did a really good job last year with picking some of our alternates, and we got the best out of them. I think there's other issues to address as far as performance-wise of why our kids aren't performing, other than just they weren't at the state tournament. I mean, Johnny Leck wasn't at the state tournament. Obviously, he's one of our top performers. He was coming off an injury last year. He didn't perform well. top to bottom, but that's not, I mean, he was coming off an injury. That's tough for him. You know, we had some other kids overperform and it was great to see. So, you know, I think it's a multitude of things that we're trying to address at one time. So Scott, I see your point. But I also see everybody else's point. I do like the performance-based portion of, you know, regionals, state, from a kids club perspective, district, state. I do like the fact that yes, some kid who is closely matched with somebody else can catch somebody, and that's life, man. That's where we live. But that doesn't disqualify you from a dual setting. Maybe you're the alternate. You know, I mean, in cadets, we only get one team and 5 alternates, so we are very selective about that because it is what it is.
Hey,
So,
Charles.
anyways, that's my 2 points.
Thank you. Hey, this is going to be a hard stop. 3 minutes is going to be 9 o'clock. And we're going to go to a hard stop because I'm going to go into executive session at that time. Okay. And we can talk up to that point. Excuse me.
No, go ahead. I was just going to say,
Amanda,
hey, Chiefs won.
Thank you. Amanda, you had your hand up for clarifying something.
Yeah, I hate to open up this can of worms, but so originally within the notes, we stated that state was going to be a hard dates of May 3rd and 4th. Now that we are taking a 30-day stay on this to figure out bids, are we also then stating that that is no longer a hard date? My question and problem with that then is how are the people that are going to be obtaining these bids being able to get accurate bids without hard dates?
I don't want to speak for Scott there, but I mean, I think if that's the date for the tournament, that's the date for the tournament.
I would agree with that. I absolutely, but Scott a little bit ago stated that was no longer possibly the date. So that's why I just want clarification. Are we hard stating May 3rd and 4th?
Scott, what is the
I
drop
know
dead date that you would believe it needs to be?
Richard will contact Kansas Star Arena and inquire for those particular dates and no other dates. If they're not available on those dates, then Kansas Star Arena is out of the question. And I believe Hartman would agree that if they can't provide it on those 2 dates, then they're out.
And I agree with those statements. However, everything was thrown out the window. And then a little bit ago, Scott stated that it would be possible that those dates weren't accurate anymore. So I think as long as we're all on the same page, that it should be May 3rd and 4th or one or both of those days, we're good to go.
Amanda, Richard concurs with your statement.
So if people go after bids, looking for bids, what date are they going to be doing?
From my understanding of a small discussion, May 3rd and May 4th.
Okay.
Sorry, I just need to get that clarified for everyone's knowledge, plus within these notes.
Thank you.
Rick,
go ahead, Richard.
Kurt, Rich, are you still on there?
Rich Zimmerman?
Yeah.
Is the bicentennial, are you guys interested in trying to hold it there?
I'm going to check and see if it's available.
Okay, perfect. I just want to make sure. Thank you.
So Rich and I have already been chatting about checking for that one. Nate Blevins is going to check for Hartman. You're going to check for Kansas Star.
Correct.
And I think we're going to get Nate to also check for the new event center in Kansas City as an option.
Okay.
I know we put 14 mats down in that center in just one portion of that for that. So I think we should get those 4 bids, compare them to Hutch, figure out which one is the best logistically and financially for everybody involved, and then move forward. But it's got to be held to that date. And we got to meet Scott's criteria for getting mats laid down, and we got to get volunteers to do, mat crews and all that stuff. We don't want to absorb the cost. Yep.
Yeah. There would also be some financial considerations for the officials there, since the other venues may not agree to pay the officials like Hutch has.
Right.
That is
There's a
true.
lot, there's a lot of moving parts there.
Yeah. Amanda, you still have your hand up?
No, sorry, I
Okay,
forgot to pull it
no
down.
problem.
Hey,
Richard
Kurt,
does.
can I say one thing here real quick before we go to executive session?
We need to get in an executive session. You got 20 seconds.
20 seconds. All right, cool. Hey, so as USAWKS KWCA liaison, I have sent out an email to all the college coaches trying to find out what their spring practice schedules are. And for the most part, I have started to receive positive feedback from them that they are willing to take in our cadet and juniors, both boys and girls, to bring in practice sessions through March and April, May timeframe to help our kids. So that is an up and up for all of us.
Outstanding job, Charles.
Scott, I really appreciate you leading this whole effort. I know that there's an awful lot of bumpy roads that we got to get through, and I really appreciate your leadership in all this and your patience and everybody else's patience in getting there on this. Nigel,
It's all good, and thank you, Kurt. I know it's a democracy, and it's all good.
okay, sir. Nigel, to go in executive session, what do I need to do?
So we need a motion to go into an executive session, a second, and a vote on it, and then we will have to stop recording this particular session of the meeting, and then we'll ask everybody that's not on the board to return back to the lobby. They can exit out of the meeting and come back into it at the prescribed time. We'll admit them back in. If anybody doesn't leave out of there by the time we're ready to start that meeting, then we'll forcefully push them out of the meeting, which I don't like that word, but that's what we got to do. And then they can
Richard
come back
makes a
in. We'll
motion.
start.
Richard makes a motion. We go into executive session. How long do you need, Kurt?
Let's go 15 minutes.
Richard makes a motion. We move into executive session for 15 minutes. The time is 9:04 p.m. to exit at approximately 9:20.
Jesse,
Okay.
second.
Thank you. And coming out of that meeting, we will adjourn. That would be, and we will pick back up where we left off at that next meeting. And we'll discuss that when we get out of executive session, okay? I'm going to have a vote now to go into executive session. Mickey,
Yes.
Jesse,
Yes.
Derek,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Susan,
Yes.
Nigel,
Yes.
Charles,
Yes.
Dylan,
Yes.
JC,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Rich Zimmerman.
Yeah.
Okay. We will be going into executive session. We're going to stop the recording. We're going to ask everybody who is not on the board to leave the meeting. I appreciate everybody's input. I've been listening and watching comments, and there's been a lot of good feedback. I really appreciate that people get on board and be part of our discussions as a board. I really appreciate their input too and their comments. But let's go ahead and have people bow out. I see we're down to 18 people. Minutes, maybe 3 at the most, and then go back into executive session. Okay. Being as we are in regular time right now, we might as well get some other things knocked out while we wait this 1 or 2 minutes to get back into executive session. Do I have to take a vote to do that?
To do what?
To go back into executive session?
Yes.
Yes. Somebody will have to
Okay.
make a motion. We got to vote again.
Okay.
I make a
Okay,
motion.
great.
We go back to executive session.
I'll
Steve
second
made a
that.
motion.
Richard seconds the motion.
I'm
There you
not
go.
sure who seconded it, but
Richard.
okay.
You'll need to state the time.
9:23 p.m.
9:23.
I
For
mean, for
15
how
minutes.
long?
For 15 minutes, you're saying, right?
Yes.
Maximum of 15.
Well, it's
Okay.
got to be the whole 15. It's whatever you
So
said is
from-
we have to do the whole time.
So
Oh.
from 9:25 to 9:40.
Okay.
I
Okay.
second Stevens' motion 9:25 to 9:40.
Okay, with that,
And this is Richard.
Quick vote.
quick vote. Mickey,
Yes.
Jesse,
Yes.
Derek,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Susan,
Yes.
Nigel,
Yes.
Charles,
Yes.
Dylan,
Yes.
JC,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
and Rich.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, quick. While I have these 2 minutes prior to going back to the executive session, or 1 minute. Hey, look, I am looking for all the clubs. One, I need KWCA attendance. I need you guys to sign up for that for any clubs that are on here. Second of all, I am going to get with William Isom, our officials director, and I'm hoping to present at the athletic directors meeting here in March to start the process of getting girls moved over to freestyle. But we have to do this as a concerted effort. I want to get with William so we can talk about officials, and we can present this as a whole to Keisha coming forward. I'm hoping I have full support of the state body and everybody else. And I don't think I'll have any complaints about this, but this is my next goal, is to start pushing that. Along with that, William, I'm also going to try to push that we start getting high school coaches okayed to coach in the spring versus the Keisha moratorium until Memorial Day. As that doesn't fit with wrestling, it fits with football and a number of other sports, but it does not fit with wrestling and or volleyball, a couple of the sports that it just doesn't work with. So I'm going to ask your help for both of those things, is going for girls freestyle and for getting Keisha high school coaches moved towards an extension on the moratorium so we can actually coach during the spring session.
Okay. Thank you. Are we in executive session now?
Yeah.
Yep.
Coming out of that, I don't see anybody in the waiting room to join us. There was someone there for quite a while. Heather had been there for quite a while, wanting to join, but I don't see her there anymore.
I make a
Discussion.
motion to adjourn.
Ethan.
Who made the motion?
Richard Salyer makes a motion to adjourn.
Charlotte Hill seconds.
And let me, all in favor? Or actually, all
Aye.
opposed? All opposed? Okay. Well, thank you very much. And I appreciate Amanda taking care of things tonight.
Thank you, Amanda.
She's probably gone, but okay. Thank you, everybody. Okay.